Divorce. Bible verses about divorce. 25 Bible verses about divorce. Verses. Matthew 19:9 And I say to you, whoever divorces his wife, except for sexual immorality, and marries another, commits adultery. Malachi 2:16 For the Lord, the God of Israel, says that he hates divorce, for it covers one's garment with violence, says the Lord of hosts. Therefore take heed to your spirit, that you do not deal treacherously. Deuteronomy 24:1-4 When a man takes a wife and marries her, and it happens that she finds no favor in his eyes because he has found some uncleanness in her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce, puts it in her hand, and sends her out of his house, when she has departed from his house, and goes and becomes another man's wife, if the latter husband detests her and writes her a certificate of divorce, puts it in her hand, and sends her out of his house, or if the latter husband dies who took her as his wife, then her former husband who divorced her must not take her back to be his wife after she has been defiled, for that is an abomination before the Lord, and you shall not bring sin on the land which the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. Mark 10:11 And he said to them, whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery against her. Matthew 5:32 But I say to you that whoever divorces his wife for any reason except sexual immorality causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a woman who is divorced commits adultery. 1 Corinthians 7:10-11 Now to the married I command, yet not I but the Lord, a wife is not to depart from her husband, but even if she does depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband, and a husband is not to divorce his wife. Romans 7:2-3 For the woman who has a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he lives, but if the husband dies, she is released from the law of her husband. So then if, while her husband lives, she marries another man, she will be called an adulteress, but if her husband dies, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she has married another man. Proverbs 2:17 Who forsakes the companion of her youth, and forgets the covenant of her God. 1 Corinthians 7:15 But if the unbeliever departs, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases, but God has called us to peace. Matthew 19:3-6 The Pharisees also came to him, testing him, and saying to him, Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for just any reason? And he answered and said to them, Have you not read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh? So then, they are no longer two but one flesh. Therefore what God has joined together, let not man separate. 1 Corinthians 7:39 A wife is bound by law as long as her husband lives, but if her husband dies, she is at liberty to be married to whom she wishes, only in the Lord. Isaiah 51 Thus says the Lord, Where is the certificate of your mother's divorce, whom I have put away, or which of my creditors is it to whom I have sold you? For your iniquities you have sold yourselves, and for your transgressions your mother has been put away. Isaiah 54:5 For your Maker is your husband, the Lord of hosts is his name, and your Redeemer is the Holy One of Israel. He is called the God of the whole earth. 1 Corinthians 7:27 Are you bound to a wife? Do not seek to be loosed. Are you loosed from a wife? Do not seek a wife. 1 Corinthians 7:8-9 But I say to the unmarried and to the widows, it is good for them if they remain even as I am, but if they cannot exercise self-control, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. Matthew 5:31-32 Furthermore it has been said, Whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that whoever divorces his wife for any reason except sexual immorality causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a woman who is divorced commits adultery. 1 Corinthians 7:13 And a woman who has a husband who does not believe, if he is willing to live with her, let her not divorce him. Romans 14:3 Let not him who eats despise him who does not eat, and let not him who does not eat judge him who eats, for God has received him. Ephesians 5:31 For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Matthew 19:6 So then, they are no longer two but one flesh. Therefore what God has joined together, let not man separate. 1 Corinthians 7:10-11 Now to the married I command, yet not I but the Lord, a wife is not to depart from her husband, but even if she does depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband, and a husband is not to divorce his wife. Matthew 5:31 Furthermore it has been said, Whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. Romans 12:17-18 Repay no one evil for evil, have regard for good things in the sight of all men. If it is possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men. 1 Corinthians 13:4-7 Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Isaiah 61:8 For I, the Lord, love justice, I hate robbery for burnt offering. I will direct their work in truth, and will make with them an everlasting covenant. Father, grandfather, minister, missionary, deacon, elder, author, welcome to our family. View all posts.